Greetings! Before we begin, I just wanted to let you know on Saturday, August the 18th at 8 p.m. in Berlin in the Kino in der Kulturbrauerei will be the German premiere of the movie Snowflake. It is presented by Demand Film, which is a blockchain-using system for incentivizing independent films to come to theaters. And we had David Doeppel, the CEO, as one of our guests at the Blockchain Unpacked live event here in Berlin. It's going to be a fun night. If you want to come out, then there will be a link in the show notes, or you can just visit demand.film. Now on with the show.
This is the Analysis in Chains with Nathan Williams and Neil Kieran.
Welcome to Analysis in Chains by CryptoNews.com, your daily source of all things crypto. I'm here today with Anita Schjøll Brede, the CEO and co-founder of Iris.AI. Iris is currently doing Project Aiur, which is a blockchain project for opening up science. Anita, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So, Project Aiur, blockchain project to open up science. What is it?
So I want to kind of start with a very quick example to kind of understand what the problem is first. So my favorite example, especially when we're kind of in the blockchain crypto space, is Satoshi herself, who cannot possibly be an academic hired at an academic institution, because if she was, what she would do is not publish her paper freely and openly on a crypto newsletter, but rather run it through the regular publishing process, which means she would get it published in a tier 1 journal to get the right points to get the next round of funding to keep her job. If she had gone through that process, it would take about 18 months to get it published, and it would cost about $30 for an individual, which means there wouldn't be a blockchain space today. So that's kind of the core of the problem we're solving. And we're solving that through two pieces of technology, one being a tokenized incentive model where, short story, everyone who contributes to the world of science through this project gets rewarded for that through tokens. So that would be, publishing and peer reviewing, but also building code, doing AI training, etc. And the AI training is tied to the second piece of the technology, which is an AI engine for doing what we call knowledge validation. And that's the kind of core both piece of tech and what will ensure economic growth of the entire community.
So that seems like two really big projects all jammed into one, the AI engine and the tokenization project. Has it been a bit of a mouthful to try and bite off both of those chunks?
Well, so the thing is, one can't exist without the other, right? And when I started out, with this AI company that we have been building for the past 3 years, we had this standing joke of like sprinkling AI on things to make it work, which is not how AI works. And now I feel like it's a little bit of the same. A lot of projects were like, ooh, we're going to do academic publishing on the blockchain. And because we sprinkled blockchain on it, it's totally going to work to change the incentive model. But you have a massive chicken and egg problem, right? As you do with a lot of other marketplaces. Let's
start with the AI model, because that's obviously been running for a while longer. What exactly are you using AI for? Like, it's not just sprinkling AI on.
No, so we've been building AI tools, or machine learning tools, if you like, for the past 3 years. For those who are familiar with kind of the research process, the tools that we have today are semi-automating the literature review, or going from, hey, I have this problem, I'm going to branch out to find 10,000 articles that might solve it, and then narrow that down to a precise reading list. That's what we're doing today. We have proven these tools. They're commercially available. We're generating revenue off of them. What we're doing with Project Aiur, which is more of an open source project then, and it's going to be community owned, is the next step, which is semi-automation of what's called the peer review process, or validating a piece of research and making sure it's actually valid and true.
The way things are right now, as I understand it, coming from academia a little bit myself, is that peer review of pages is not compensated at all. It's something people are doing voluntarily for the most part.
Voluntarily, you kind of have to. The publishing houses do put a little pressure on you to do so, but no, that's true. It's these publishing houses, these big old school institutions. There's about 5 of them, like the big ones worldwide, and they basically charge taxpayers, especially here in Northern Europe, they charge taxpayers 4 times for what they do, right? It's like when the research is produced, because a lot of it is governmentally taxpayer money funded, then they get the researchers to do the peer review for free, which is, again, we are paying their salary. 3rd time, when they sell all of this back to the universities who produced it in the first place. And then, of course, 4thly, when we actually pay for the research paper.
Well, that sounds like the ultimate scam. How can I get in on this?
It's a brilliant business model. I mean, they make a lot of money. One of the biggest ones, Elsevier, they had a 900 million British pound profit last year at a 40% profit margin. Like, it's not a bad world for them, but it's a world that needs to change.
It reminds me of Jeff Bezos's mantra, which is your profit margin is my opportunity.
Exactly.
So tell me what's the big disruption here? So if you bring out these peer review tools and this blockchain incentive token, do you really hope to completely upend the publishing industry?
Yeah, we do, and we're not saying that the publishers and the journals are not going to have a place, because I very honestly and genuinely think that they do. They just have to be, these big publishing houses have to be willing to change their model. But I do think there's going to be a space for everyone. But really, the way we're looking at it is that we need a new incentive structure. We need academics and researchers to properly get rewarded for the work they put in. We need, no middlemen to sit and take all of the earnings, and we need to give some, freedom back to the universities that are, today spending. We did a freedom of information request in the UK, and the average UK university spends 4 million British pounds a year just on accessing research. Right? It's such a drain, and we want to open up that. And so what we're doing with this kind of AI engine and the incentive structure is simply to build this engine together with a community, set up a business model around corporate access to that engine so that they can validate their own internal research. And it can also be people building a variety of third-party applications, because it's really not just scientists that need science, right? Mm-hmm. If hedge fund managers can do more accurate technological predictions based on kind of historical data around validity of science, then suddenly you open up another market of money that can be funneled in to the core community of academics and researchers. And when we can build a solid economy around that, then at some point, there's going to be economy enough in the system to make it worth it for researchers to swap over, and for universities and libraries as well, to swap over from this old school model that they feel very stuck in today over into kind of a new world order.
It seems like with universities, libraries, these old school models, that there would be quite a hurdle to jump over in order to adopt a new type of system, even if it were open source, free information, or properly incentivized, cheaper, no middlemen. How do you overcome that mentality?
So the interesting part, right, when we started working on science 3 years ago, we were told, the open access movement, which has been a thing for 25 years, the open access movement just isn't going anywhere. Nothing's going to happen. Right? We were told that 3 years ago, but things are shifting really fast, right? So Sci-Hub, for example, which is essentially the Napster of research, and it's just as illegal as Napster were, they're operating out of Russia. She has a $14 million fine on her from Elsevier, and she's like, I'm in Russia. What are you going to do?
Sometimes it takes a bit of a criminal, just a little bit of a bad boy, piracy, Robin Hood, whatever you want to call it, right. Rob from the rich, give to the poor, stand in Sweden, stand in somewhere where you're not going to be taken, Pirate Bay.
Exactly. And we don't, we don't necessarily, we don't support criminal activity, of course, but I think some industries just need someone who's willing to go out there and shake things up, which opens up to new business models as well for people who do things legally. And what's interesting right now is that just the last year or so, in December last year, 200 German universities went together and told Elsevier, you know what? We're not paying anymore. We're sick of this. In May this year, Sweden went out and did the same to Elsevier. France has done the same to another big publishing house. And we're seeing this movement from, countries organizing themselves to say, we don't want to be part of this anymore. In the UK, the prices have increased 60% for these bundling of journals, and that isn't adjusted for inflation, just the last decade or so. So it's absolutely insane, and the universities are realizing this, and they're kind of banding up together to say, you know what, enough is enough. So there is this movement here, and we hope and believe that when that movement of angry academics come to fruition, we will have a system that actually works on the other side.
It's interesting because, Napster is no longer around, but their effect was wide felt, and Spotify wouldn't exist today if Napster hadn't come forward and shaken things up. And it may be very similar in your situation, you being the legal Spotify that can come along and save the day when everyone is abandoning the traditional publishers.
Absolutely. Though I will say that in the Spotify example, our system will be owned by the researchers themselves, so we do not take any cut of this, and it's.
I wanted to talk just ever so slightly about accessibility to scientific data and what you think your system will do for that. One of the big discussions among scientists right now is reproducibility of results, of issues surrounding p-values, whether the research can be seen as legitimate, and also even just ability to access enough resources because some of them are behind paywalls or you don't have access to all the journals. Do you think that putting these peer-reviewed documents in an open system like this will address any or all of these problems, or will we still be left with them at the end of the day?
No, I think it does address all of the problems. Now, granted, there's probably going to be new problems popping up that we, that will be born out of this solutions to the old problems. I'm not saying,
One of my friends has told me that he believes that every problem we have today is the unintended consequence of a solution to a problem we had yesterday.
Absolutely. No, and I think that's spot on. And like one of the problems back in the day was like, well, I sit on this university and I have to like get my result out to the other universities. How do we do that? And someone's like, hey, if you all send me your manuscripts, I'll read them and I'll put them in a little journal and I'll send it out to everyone. Great. And then fast forward 50 years and we're like, yeah, Elsevier, come on, yep. What are you doing? This
unintended consequences. Hooray.
Exactly. So no, that is very true. But no, like all of the issues you mentioned are very much kind of, yes, being addressed. So the reproducibility issues, the knowledge validation engine, which is, in essence, a really good help for the peer review. That is one of those things, right? To be able to very quickly pull up to see like, what are the constraints? Do you have, circular dependencies? Is there any kind of other research that contradicts what you've done that, et cetera, et cetera. So like, there's that part of it. There's also the part where, if you build the incentive mechanisms to, for example, also publish your data sets, right, with a timestamp and immutability, that means that no one can steal it from you, and or if someone steals it from you, you can prove later that no, actually you are the owner of this, and there's a number of things like that will be solved. And I think one of the interesting parts, and for us, is that I don't think the future of research papers are going to be research papers.
Really?
When we get towards that, yeah, because it's static and it's very much, research papers are still paper format. You know what I mean? Even if it's in a PDF online and digitized, it's still paper, you hear it from the name. And I think that, and I hope that, with different incentive structures, with different formats of publishing, we might see more of an open model where, I start my research project and I'm going to launch it right away and I'm going to publish it. and, with, access control, immutable, to show that like this is what I'm working on and I can prove that, and then we can collaborate, and all of my contributions can be tracked and all of your contributions can be tracked, and we can distribute the rewards in between ourselves in a fair manner. There's just so many things there that can be done in the future if you have a system that allows for those incentives, as opposed to sitting for 3 years in your office writing out a paper and then submitting it and waiting 18 months for it to be published.
That's fascinating, because that's a whole new way of thinking about traditional academic research. Do you think that the students or the researchers or even the professors might be ready for something that radical?
Not today, probably. Some people are. I mean, some people are all about this, and we've seen plenty of exciting experiments, right? And there's a lot of people working on this as well. Your average academic researcher, maybe not, but that's why we need to start somewhere else. We need to start to build up the economy. We need to start building these tools. We need to start giving you another way to deal with, the publication. And just to give an example of one of the ways we want to let's say, sway people's opinion in this direction is, so today, if let's say you write a new algorithm for, topic modeling, which is what we do. So let's say you develop a new algorithm for topic modeling. You're like, great, this is totally going to outperform the other state-of-the-art algorithms for topic modeling. And you run your experiment and you're like, no, it didn't. It sort of sucked. Didn't work out. Then what happens is that you put everything you did, you put all your experiments, all of, everything you wrote up until date, you put that in a drawer, metaphorically, and you never look at it again.
Yeah.
But what if there was a way where you're like, hey, I could just finish up my conclusion here, which will take me another few days, and I'll submit that to the system and I'll earn, some kind of liquid token that will allow you to either, spend that on a bunch of cool tools, or, hold it, or go out and sell those token, get some fiat and go, go on a weekend trip or take your partner out for dinner, whatever it is, right? Suddenly there's there is this new way of dealing with my research.
With null results and failed experiments. You could make the argument that those failed experiments or those negative results are just as valuable as the positive ones, correct?
Right. Sometimes even more so, right? Because you don't want to waste your time trying to implement something that 100 other people have tried doing and it failed. I mean, it is just as valuable, but in today's model, there is no incentives for doing anything about it.
Well, what's the next step for you, Anita? What should we expect from Project Aiur in the next couple of months?
So we are running our private sale right now, getting that up to speed, together with a pre-sale that is very specifically targeted to our community of researchers and academics. So you have to be affiliated with a research institution to participate in the pre-sale, but we're running our private sale as well right now. We are going live with the public token sale in early September. So we're coming up on about a month left for that. So, we're definitely sprinting now. All the contracts are live on the Ethereum mainnet. And it's, we're ramping up the roadshow. It's a little crazy. It's a lot of fun. It's very much Wild West right now in this industry. So it's exciting.
Well, it sounds very exciting. Best of luck. I wish you great success in your sale and in your development. And I hope it catches on in academia. And for our listeners, if they want to check you out, I guess they can go to Iris.AI or Project Aiur, projectaiur.com. So thank you very much for joining me, Anita.
Thank you for having me.